Hey, what's up, guys? So we got this college football video I promised that I was going to do, and now that the rankings came out, they came out like 20 minutes ago, uh, or maybe like as little as 10 minutes ago. We're here. We're going to talk about the rankings, and possible options for teams to get in. But let's jump right into it. Here, obviously, from ESPN's Twitter is the current rankings. They just announced later this evening. You got Clemson at number 1, Auburn 2, Wisconsin is at 4, Oklahoma 3, Bama 5, and Georgia 6. So doing a whole recap of what just happened, like last week, Clemson beat South Carolina, Oklahoma won their game, Wisconsin won their game, Auburn beat Alabama. Alabama was previously the number 1 seed, so Bama drops from 1 to 5. Georgia won their game, so Georgia's at 6. And Georgia had lost, not last week, but the week before that, had lost to Auburn. So Georgia had been like number 1 at that time, then they lost to Auburn, they fell back. And then Auburn beat Bama, who's the next number 1, and they fell back too. So, yeah, pretty good picture. Now, these are the top 6. But in reality, there's still like 7 or 8 teams that are actually in competition for the playoffs at this point. And the ones you don't see here that are still in competition are Miami, who's, I believe, Miami's 7, Ohio State, who's 8, and TCU still has a slim shot at 11. The reason TCU has a shot is TCU plays Oklahoma in their championship game. So what people are saying is, like, in a chaotic situation, if Oklahoma beats TCU, if TCU beats Oklahoma, they will beat the number three seed in the nation. And then people will say, does that make TCU good enough to jump up into the top 4? And people will argue back and forth about that. Personally, I don't think that would be good enough because Oklahoma has a bad defense as it is, and Oklahoma already beat TCU once this year. So my opinion is it's kind of like a mutually assured destruction situation. If TCU beats Oklahoma, I think both those teams get knocked out then, and then like Bama or Georgia or Bama or Georgia would get boosted up into the top 4. So looking ahead, this is what we have to think about for the championship game. These are the possible scenarios for the conference championships coming up. So Clemson plays Miami. Clemson's number 1, Miami's number 7. Both have 1 loss, and both have the 1 loss they both have is to unranked teams. Clemson lost to Syracuse early in the year. Clemson didn't have their starting quarterback during that game, most of the game at least. And then Miami just lost last week to an unranked Pittsburgh. So they both have losses to unranked teams. And that's the ACC championship game. And basically, it's win and you're in. So whoever wins that game is going to be in the playoffs, and whoever loses is going to be out. So that's pretty straightforward in that situation. Wisconsin's going to be playing Ohio State, which I said before, I believe is number 8. I don't see the complete list. It'd be really nice if someone tweeted that out. But I believe they are number 8. But whatever it is, they're ranked high enough to the point where they're obviously still in it. So Wisconsin plays Ohio State. And the issue with that is now, if Ohio State beats Wisconsin, does Ohio State get in, or will it be Alabama? Because Alabama's done for the regular season. They don't have any more games because they're not playing in the SEC Conference Championship. Because that's going to be Auburn versus Georgia. So, which Auburn versus Georgia is basically also a win-in situation because Georgia's a 1-loss team. Their 1 loss coming to Auburn. I believe they're 1 loss, but their losses to Auburn. Because they lost to Auburn, obviously they're not in the top 4. They still get another shot at them though in the SEC championship game. So if they beat Auburn, then Auburn would be number 2 team in the nation. Georgia's number 6 would beat them. They'd be 1-1 on the year against each other, and Georgia would have the SEC championship. So Georgia would jump back up, and Auburn would have 3 losses on the year at that point. So Georgia would jump back up into the playoffs for the SEC, and Auburn would get knocked out. And then that would leave Bama still sitting there kind of like, it's just with that 1 loss, not a great strength of schedule. Ohio State doesn't have a great strength of schedule either. It's actually ranked lower than Alabama. But if Ohio State beats the number 4 team in the nation, and Alabama hasn't faced any of the top 4 teams in the nation this year besides Auburn, who they lost to, And if Auburn loses, that looks worse for Alabama because the team they lost to will drop in the rankings nationally. And then if Ohio State were to beat Wisconsin, Ohio State would have a top 4 team on their resume that they had beaten. So the argument would be, at that point, Ohio State has a conference championship and Bama doesn't. Ohio State will have close to the strength schedule of Alabama. Alabama might have the better, more talented team at that point. So it'd be really interesting to see, where they go from there. Who does the committee think would get in that point? That'd be really interesting to see exactly where to go for that point. And like I was saying, the other things is the other thing was like that we were talking about is Oklahoma and TCU. It's TCU that says number 11. If TCU beats Oklahoma, then they might have a shot to get into the top 4, but they really don't because Bama's sitting there at number 5. And so basically, it has the potential to be 4 conference champions, which could be Clemson / Miami, Auburn / Georgia, Oklahoma / TCU, and Wisconsin / Ohio State. Or it could be, 3 conference champions and Alabama. So it'd be Clemson or Miami, probably Auburn, Auburn or Georgia. Then it could be, Oklahoma, and then Alabama instead of Wisconsin or Ohio State. Or if Oklahoma loses, it could be Clemson / Miami, Auburn / Georgia, Wisconsin / Ohio State, and then Alabama because Oklahoma will drop out of the top 4 if they lose to TCU, and TCU is not guaranteed at that point to rise up from all the way from 11 to the top 4. So at that point, Bama might leapfrog both those teams and get into the playoffs. So there's still a bunch of teams in play here. I think we rattled off. So we said Clemson, Wisconsin, Auburn, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, Miami. That's 9 teams right there. So we still technically have 9 teams that are competing for this playoff spot. I believe Penn State's in the top 10 nationally, but Penn State's really not relevant because they have lost to Ohio State. I believe they lost to Ohio State. They lost to Ohio State, and they just aren't. They can't advance. They can't help themselves anymore. They're kind of just dead in the water at this point, and they're not going to be in the conference championship game, obviously. So they won't have a conference championship. And whoever wins that championship game, whether it be Wisconsin or Ohio State, is going to stay ahead of them. And there's going to be the other conference champs who are going to move up as well. So Penn State's kind of just dead in the water, unfortunately for them. Which is a shame because they have a bunch of really great players on their team. Which is just, and they're a fun team to watch. So it's kind of, I wouldn't say upsetting. I'm not a Penn State fan. But, for them, it's got to be disappointing because they have a great team. A lot of great individuals on that team as well. So it's just, it's kind of fun to run through all these different situations. I think I've covered most of them. I haven't looked up the entire list of top 25. I saw it kind of airing live on TV. I posted, I think, it's a little video clip of it earlier. But I think I've covered all of the major ideas. All the major situations. Let's see here. For now, Auburn has risen top 4 albums looking at that. Who is your Dr. Pepper one final team to make the college football playoffs? So this is essentially a team, so the 4th team basically. Well, I'll be honest, I would favor Ohio State. Unfortunately, I would favor unfortunately for Alabama fans, I would favor Ohio State in a situation where Wisconsin lost and Ohio State would beat Wisconsin. I would favor Ohio State to jump Bama to get that 4th spot. I don't think the committee will do that. I think I would personally pick Ohio State to jump to 4, and then have the ACC winner, the SEC winner, and Well, I'm just assuming Oklahoma's going to win at this point, but then Oklahoma, and then Bama, or not Bama, then Ohio State number 4. That's what I personally would do. However, I think the committee will put Alabama ahead of Ohio State because strength schedule for the most part, and because the overall eye test, uh, and because of Ohio State's one loss. It was a terrible loss. It was a blowout loss to an unranked team at the point in time. So it's just that loss stings a lot more than Alabama's near loss to Mississippi State and Alabama's loss to Auburn, which were fairly close games, for the majority of their time at least. So I just think from like that one really bad loss hurts Ohio State. If it was a close game, it'd be entirely different. But it was a really bad loss. So that's gonna hurt them a lot more than people might think. For this question down here, though, I would have to go Bama because I think Ohio State's gonna beat Wisconsin. To be honest, I think Auburn's gonna beat Georgia. Or at least I want Auburn to beat Georgia. So I'm gonna go with Alabama. Obviously, I think I'm rooting for Miami, Clemson to beat Miami because I go to Clemson. Kind of have to root for them against Miami. Not a really big Miami fan, anyways. Uh, so yeah, that's basically it for this video, guys. I think I've covered mostly everything. That's no scenarios. Leave a message if you feel like I missed one, and you feel like there's another team that I should have included in this list. So, I guess I'll talk to you later. Bye.